The Course uses such dramatic words about what happens when we do not know our identity. It's pretty dramatic, isn't it? And I think it uses that because it wants you to kind of get the idea, this is important, that we remember who and what we are, that we do not diminish ourselves. And you think, well, diminishing myself means that I don't think highly of myself. Well, diminishing yourself is when you attack another person as well. You know. So yeah, so you can't sit there and go, I am the Holy Son of God himself. It's too bad that jerk doesn't know that they're the Holy Son of God himself. That doesn't help you to know. And then we wonder why our world isn't going so great, you know. But this is lesson 191. Let's just look at it because, you know, we've got a lot of ancient learning going on here that has attached us or to this world of bondage, is what the Course is saying. Look at that first paragraph. It says, here's your declaration of release from bondage of the world, a thought, not political parties, not nuclear weapons, not hydrogen bombs that we're worried that North Korea has, you know, nothing, none of this. This is what's going to release us from the bondage of the world, remembering who we are. And that just grinds against everything this world says and the ego says. So yay, it's right then. If it doesn't make sense to you, we're right on. You know, it doesn't make sense to the world. So we're right on. That makes perfect sense to me. The bondage of the world is we are going to be released from it as we release our minds. You know, there's a great documentary series that's on PBS right now. It's David Eagleman and the Brain. And it's an hour episode on PBS, and it comes on, I think it's every Sunday night, if I'm remembering right. Anyway, I've just been recording it and watching the series. And they're talking about the brain, and it's interesting because, you know, our brain, the brain is not our mind. You know, this is the physical thing that the body and the world and the illusion has created to help us function in the world. It carries within it things to help our culture and our society procreate, keep us going. It knows when we're young and fertile to let off the right sense for males to be approached to us if we're women, and for women to be approached to males if they're males. You know, it knows all this stuff. It does it for the perpetuation of the species. It knows all this. And he's been showing this, what areas of the brain light up, and so much of this. So you think you're kind of victimized by all this pre-programming that's in the brain for the survival of the species. This isn't just for humans. It's for every animal that walks this earth. It knows when to hibernate. It knows when to wake up. It knows how to eat. It knows how to stand. I was always amazed that I think it's zebras and giraffes. I think both of them, when they're born, the babies can stand immediately. They're born, and like within minutes, they have to, because the lions are after them immediately when they're born. And you see this in nature. They just know this is what the brain has to do. What about us? We're born and we can't function. We're the only mammal that has to be so taken care of for so long. Now there are other mammals that have to be taken care of, but we're pretty much dependent on a mother and a family nurturing for a long time. And that maybe gives us more time to develop this big brain up here. And this brain can victimize us too. You know, they were talking about his approach now is working with people who have addictions. Like he says, one of the things we need to do is stop putting people in jail for drug addictions, but teach their brain another way, basically reprogram the brain. I thought this was rather fascinating, where they do an MRI and they say, think about your drug addiction, and certain parts of the brain light up. Now think about what that costs you and why you don't want to be addicted to drugs, and certain other parts of the brain light up. Once they have this, baseline, then they put them into this MRI thing, and they said, now think about, and they let you see it. See that drug addiction. Now realize, try to move the marker from being addicted, where the brain is in this area, to being, I don't want to do that anymore. Sort of like when you stop eating, when you prevent yourself from eating candy, or you prevent yourself from overeating. You just think about the consequences of doing that. And so they watch the brain patterns move, consciously move. And the gal was saying, she says, the first time I did it, it was really hard to move from the addiction to the drugs to not wanting to take the drugs. And she said it wouldn't move as much. And little by little, she said, I was able to move my attention to focusing on not wanting the drug. But she says it's a real conscious pattern I have to develop in my mind to move away from this addictive nature that I have. And she says, it's day by day. I do this day by day. She said, but he says, I think we're onto something when we do not just put people away in jail for drug-related problems, but we teach them how to choose a better way. Sounds similar? But think about it. Now, we're addicted to the drug of this world. We're addicted to our judgments, and we're addicted to our anger, and we're addicted to our fear, and we're addicted to our hopelessness and our powerlessness, all this nature inside of us. So the Course says, here's your baseline. It's time for you to choose, to see what choosing your reality can do for you. So that's what we're learning in this. When we buy into the victimization or the bondage of the world, we are locked into so much chaos. We'll get to that in just a minute. But we can declare, in essence, move our little monitor from bondage to freedom when we affirm the truth about ourselves. And here as well is the world released when we do it. You do not see what you have done by giving the world the role of jailer to the Son of God. Now, it's easy to say, oh, okay, bad world. You know, we get all upset with it. Okay, I'm out to fight this world. 2016, and put the gloves on. You know, I'm going to punch the world. We don't want to give the world that much power. Then it is hard to fight. Just like drugs. I don't want to give them that much power. I just want to learn to look at them and move the needle to not being obsessed by them. Just like food. Food isn't bad. Money isn't bad. It's the love of all that stuff that gets in our way. The obsession we have over those things that gets in our way, right? So we just want to use them for the purpose that they can be used for. So it says, we've given the world the role of jailer to the Son of God. What could it be then if we do that to it, but seeming vicious and afraid, fearful of shadows, punitive and wild, lacking all reason, blind, insane, with hate, and insane with hate? See, the Course is very dramatic here. It's making the world pretty darn awful. But it can look like that at times. It can get kind of scary in our minds. It says, what have you done that this should really be your world? It says, all you've done is deny your reality, deny your identity, and this kind of world remains, a world of attack towards you. You look on chaos and proclaim it is yourself. See, when we look at the chaotic world, we may not always proclaim it's ourselves, but what we proclaim is, yeah, this is the way it is. Yeah, we're all, we're justified for it because I've done a lot of bad things, so yeah, that's why the world is the way it is. We get caught up in this guilt instead of saying, no, you are entitled to miracles. You're not entitled to chaos. You're not entitled to, as it says, a punitive and wild world, insane with hate. That's not what you're entitled to. You're entitled to miracles. Why? You're the Holy Son of God himself. But when we do not put things in perspective, things get blown out of perspective. A child who throws a tantrum is not a bad child. It's not an evil child. It's probably a tired child. It's probably a child that maybe ate too much candy. It's probably a child that just needs to be told, you're okay. It's going to be all right. Maybe a child just needs a hug. There's a lot of things that we can look at from a perspective of that and say, oh, I understand what's going on. But we don't look at the world like that. The world needs to, frankly, be put in its place. The reason why children oftentimes rebel is because they don't feel that the parent is in control. And when the parent's not in control, then the kid is out of control. Kids need to have boundaries. They need to have guidelines. They need to know that a parent is going to say, no, you don't eat that much. No, it's time to go to bed. No, we need to calm it down now. With a firm voice, he's looking over at me. He knows. Our son is here tonight monitoring sound because in a couple of weeks, Darren's going off to Europe. So he's here learning how to do the sound so that Darren can be gone for a couple of weeks with his kids. His kids are gone. But kids want to know you're in control. Your child is the world. And when you're out of control, it's out of control. You need to be in control. And you go, but I'm not in control. Yes, you are. See, you would say, oh, well, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. You know, the old saying, fake it till I make it. Well, in this case, fine, do it, because the reality is you are in control. So go ahead and think you're faking it, but in reality, you're not faking it because you are the maker of this world. The world is out of control because you don't know who you are, because you're out of control, because you do not declare your identity. And that's what this is saying. You need to know who you are. You need to know who you are. What have you done that your world should be so chaotic? You've denied your identity. So you look on chaos and proclaim it as yourself. There is no sight that fails to witness to this. There's no sound that does not speak of frailty within you. And there is no breath you draw that does not seem to bring you near death. No hope you hold, but will dissolve, it says, in tears. Because you don't know who you are. And then it goes on to give this whole big third paragraph about what happens when you, again, another one it is, when you deny your identity. Deny your own identity, and you will not escape the madness which induced this weird, unnatural, and ghostly thought that mocks creation, that laughs at God. Whoa! You know, can it be any more dramatic than that? Deny your own identity, and you assail the universe alone, without a friend, a tiny particle of dust, against the legions of your enemies. How fragile and hopeless you are. Deny your own identity and look on evil, sin, and death, and watch despair snatch from your fingers every scrap of hope, leaving you nothing but the wish to die. I always say the course is very dramatic. I mean, this is King Lear and a half. This is Lady Macbeth. That's why you could be so dramatic with this thing. But the fact is, as much as you want to deny your identity, you never can.